Good afternoon. My name is Attila Toth. I have here today again distinguished guests and colleagues, and we will move ahead our topic. And today the cornerstone and the core topic is how to develop the process model of telework. So in this matter, I am glad to give the floor to Wilfried Utz. So please, Wilfried.
Thank you, Attila. Thank you for the introduction. So I think I have 20 minutes about, so I will try to briefly use this time to introduce myself first, the company I work for, and then give you some insights on Adonis. I think you have already started to model processes in Adonis, and I just want to introduce to you what is our thinking and what is the reasoning behind this approach. In case you have any questions, please interrupt me so that we can cover things directly. So my name is Wilfried Utz. As the name suggests, I'm coming from Austria. We are located here in Vienna. I'm sitting here in the 4th district of Vienna at the moment. And the company I work for is called BOC. Maybe to quickly introduce to you what BOC is. BOC is a company that has been established in 1995 as a spin-off of the University of Vienna. At this stage, we have about 220 employees in 8 countries. And the company is actually organized in, let's say, a headquarter, a holding organization, and then subsidiaries below that one. But just as for you as a background information, how things started, we started at the university with a strong focus on modeling. So our core expertise, let's say, is modeling, conceptual modeling to be more precise. And the objective here is to realize modeling tools. So we are not domain experts, we're not experts in teleworking or anything, but we try to understand conceptually what is the domain and support that one with tools and methods that enable them to describe those things. I just jump through those, just to give you a bit of an impression what is going on with respect to our work. So we are globally active and support quite a number of set of clients. Our starting point was in the 90s, or 95, so 1998 something, was the financial services industry with well-known insurance companies here in Austria, in Germany, but extended them beyond that one. And these are commercial situations that we work. Personally, I'm involved in research, so my background is in business administration and computer science, and we have here at BOC a dedicated research group. My colleague, Dr. Robert Wojcik, is heading this group and is responsible for innovation and research projects within the European frameworks, but also nationally. So the core idea behind this research approach is that we would like to continuously evolve and understand how our products need to be transformed in order to fit into new situations, new environmental settings. Right, I can share these slides afterwards, but to give you an idea, what we are doing is, what I said before, we develop modeling tools. And for us, a model is something that is has a semantic meaning. So it's not just a drawing. We don't just draw pictures, but we try to support with our models specific scenarios depending on the application domain that we work in. So we have 3 products on the market. You see it in the middle. One is called Adonis, that is related to business process management. We have a second one on the market that's called Ado IT, that's about enterprise architecture management. So different view on the organization. And we have a product called Ado GRC, that's about governance, risk and control and compliance management. From a methodological point of view, what we have tried to establish is we have looked at the market and had a look on modeling methods that correspond to these domains. And to give you an example, the tool that you're using now, Adonis over here, we have selected here, learned that the world is moving into the direction of standardization, and there's a modeling method called BPMN 2.0. This is done by OMG, International Consortium, is worldwide standard, and we picked this standard and made it fit for business. That's how we call that one. So it's not the core idea is not to have models for technical implementation, but for conceptually understanding how an organization operates. Everything we do in the tool, and I will show that to you later, has functionality attached. That means it's not the picture, but it's the model itself, and we can operate and process the models that have been created with the tool. From a technological point of view, and I just refer here to the colleague from Microsoft, we have different ways how we run the products. There's an option to host things on-premise. This is from the legacy situation of our clients. We have a lot of banking and insurance companies. They don't want to use things in the cloud. But the new thing is that we have also hosted environments. That's a software as a service solution that you can immediately acquire, click a button, enter your credit card, and you have 10, 15 minutes later, you have your account set up and running. So this is different ways how we deploy the tools. What is important for you to understand is that we are a product company. So we develop products, we develop solutions, and our research interest is to evolve and see the innovation potential of our tools within a specific domain with respect to functionality that we can realize. Right, what are we doing? I mentioned that before: business process management, enterprise architecture management, and governance, risk, and compliance. So these are the three core topics. Our consulting portfolio from an operational point of view is always related to the product that we have in place, so we don't do projects without our products available. When we look into business process management, then please keep in mind what we have as a design approach is that the elements that you see on the that are slightly blue or darker blue. So the core idea is here that we support process management and business process management from a strategy point of view, from a process management point of view, and then we actually hand over when it comes to execution to specialized tools that actually operate and workflows and support those. I think we have done this one in the past research collaboration with Attila as well, so that we have a design space and also an execution space that is done then by through interfaces and how these two elements talk to each other. When we look into a business process, we look at it from an end-to-end perspective. I think this is also interesting and important for teleworking. So what is the input in the beginning and what is the output, and then to describe how these functions and tasks are actually combined and composed. We look into value-adding processes, so we don't look into processes that are not providing value to the organization, whereas value is very broadly defined, of course. And this actually results then in so-called process landscapes, process maps, where we describe on a very high level the business processes, and those things are then further broken down into the detailed flowcharts and views. When we talk about process management and BPMN as a standard, then we see that we have only support for this flowchart. So we try to actually make that fit in a sense that we have also additional artifacts that we need to consider. And you see the elements around here. This is not exclusive, so there could be also more, but artifacts that expand and extend the view on the process, so from a strategy point of view, from a structural point of view, but also from a technology point of view, so that you enrich the core, the basic flowcharts with additional descriptive and structural information in order to gain additional values during the design. And I think what we have discussed in our session before, or not session before, in our pre-talk, is that, of course, if you think about compliance and potential risks and controls that relate to teleworking, then we have the situation that we also need to cover these aspects somehow with respect within the business processes and provide then assessment and evaluation possibilities. Right, I will just jump a little bit forward we don't lose too much time. Because I heard about the life cycle before, I would like to introduce the life cycle that is behind our approach. What I mentioned here already is that we have a view on value chains, a view on sequences, on flowcharts, and these are enriched then by the gray boundary that we see here. So these are additional artifacts that we can use and that we can provide in order to extend the definition space. From a life cycle point of view, we think about it from a top-down perspective. So we assume that the strategy, the product, the service that an organization wants to offer, I think in our case it's teleworking here, is defined, and we can build on top of that one. We have then a design phase, so a design and documentation, how are things done at this stage. We have an analysis phase where we support the analysis through various algorithms, simulation algorithms, evaluation algorithms, and then actually hand that over to implementation and execution. Here we see that the process is then run, is actually executed, and we gain then again qualitative and quantitative feedback from the execution in order to reiterate through the cycle and have improvement as a continuous element within this within process management. Right, I described that before, and I would like to quickly go what I mentioned before, because I said we are a modeling company, and what we enforce within our tool, and that is what Attila mentioned in the beginning, it's a structured approach. So we enforce that we have meaning attached to elements, and this meaning comes from our meta model. So the core idea behind our product and also behind our research work is that we have a meta modeling platform that is called AutoXX. This is something that you can also get for free and experiment with. And the meta modeling platform actually implements then the semantics and the meta model on top. So the meta modeling platform that we use, I said already, it's AutoXX, and on top of that one, for the Adonis tool, we have defined, and this is of course not describing all and everything, but just to give you a flavor of meta modeling, it's describing the concepts and the relations that they have and specific characteristics that we can find. So the starting point, the middle part, if you like, the heart of everything that we do in Adonis is the business process, and in here you find the BPMN specification. So we took the time, looked into the OMG specification, which is 700 pages, and have implemented this standard in a meaningful way that it's also useful. The elements around here are additional things that we require, additional characteristics that we can attach them to the process viewpoint. Right, so we have different scenarios that we can build upon these defined meta model artifacts and support them various cases on top. I would jump off here. In case you have any question up to the theoretical elements, please let me know. Otherwise, I would jump now directly into the tool. Let me just move back here. Right.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sure.
If you jump into the tool, can I show you our perception of process landscape, and you tell if you are on a good track or wrong track?
Attila, let's do that afterwards. I show you my example first, and we can then discuss how that fits.
Okay.
There's no good and bad. I think we shouldn't qualitatively criticize what you do. This is fine. Whatever you do.
Okay, please go ahead.
Right. So what I want to show you is that we have that this is now the locally deployed and running version of our latest release. It's Adonis 11.1, and this latest release has a strong focus on usability. That means whatever you see in here is optimized in a way that we can find and retrieve information properly. We start very blank, and what I would like to start off with is a company map, and maybe this is interesting for you. We have an example case in here that we call it's a virtual, not a virtual, it's an artificial scenario and case, and we have selected here the financial services industry. So you're now introduced to the Ado Money Bank example that we have in place. So the concepts that we find in here are concepts to describe on a very high level the process landscape. How are these processes classified? What supports value to what, and how does that relate? So when we think about a bank, what kind of processes do we have on management level? We see that over here. Management processes classified in the sense that that they support and give direction to the organization. We have core processes. These are the value-adding processes. We have everything that relates in some way to client and client interaction, and we have support aspects that support the core and the management processes to overcome things. What you can recognize immediately is that we have a UI that is flexible in the sense that we can have background images and everything, so that we capture the domain also through the user interface and the user interaction. And here we have then the possibility, each of these boxes represents a process, and this process is further decomposed then into according to a hierarchy that has to be defined before. And I can have as many hierarchies as I want. So now I'm on level 1. Level 0 was the entry point. Level 1 is the first level. And here we see all the processes that relate to the area of advice customer. And advice customer has certain interactions with other areas, so variants on that one, and sub-processes that are included. And I can, of course, drill here further down, and we end up now at a flow chart that describes how the process is executed and what are the steps that are required. The flowchart design is built on a best practice that we have developed over the last 25 years, how you design and how you create readability within the process definition. Whereas each of the elements that we see in here has a very distinct meaning, so we don't use that for any kind of purpose, but it's based on the notation and on the semantic definition of the BPMN standard. So that means the yellow circle here is a starting point, blue boxes mean tasks, etc. So we have a definition that actually describes what the meaning is. I think it's rather intuitive, but just to keep in mind, when you design something, the tool will enforce the semantic meaning of the object and doesn't allow you to do everything. Behind each of these objects, and this is also true for the process landscape, we have something that we call notebook. And in the notebook, we describe further the characteristics of the specific element. Each notebook is, of course, different based on the type that it is derived from. So a start has a different notebook than a task as it is available here. A special thing are relations that we can establish. We call this one spider web. So we try to compose not only the flowchart from a graphical point of view and lay it out and have then the logical sequence defined in here, but we also relate to additional artifacts and information. What you can recognize, I will just zoom in here a bit that we can recognize that right away. We have a task. The task is a description and a name, and below the whole thing we have an organizational context. So what we can recognize is that the private customer account manager is responsible for this activity and executes that. There's also a risk attached to that activity. We can recognize that right here. I can even jump there, but it's not part of the object description. So it's not a textual entry, but it's a pointer to another artifact that we have within the system. And through this networked information, we can then ask specific questions and query the model based on the results that we would like to see. What I will not show you, I won't show you how you model things. You can, I think, play around with that one, and you can also try it out by yourself using, for example, the Autonomous CE version or the one that is with Attila at this stage. What do I mean with describing and analyzing things? The most trivial thing that we can do is we can generate from such a view something that we call insight, and then insight is let's say an executive summary how this process is embedded into the company structure. So we have different views, let's say, on the process itself. What we see up here is the process hierarchy. So we recognize the create new customer process, that one in the middle, has a hierarchy that goes to the top. We started somewhere here, process map out of money bank, and we see all the ways that lead us then to this business process. And we also see then the other direction, the decomposition that follows afterwards. This is all information that is within the model that has been described beforehand, but is now available visually in here. We have then support for the CPOC model, that describes the supplier, input, process, output, and customer. So we see how the interaction works between these between supplier and customer of the process and which artifacts are related to that one. An organizational view, who is responsible and what are input and outputs that are related to the process. So all the organizational elements that we have within the flowchart, plus all the documents that are there, IT systems, and I think here it gets interesting also for you that we get to the point where what is the assessment of this process at this stage. This assessment is based on a qualitative assessment of experts. So they enter this information potentially through questionnaires. We can discuss it as part of the project work that we plan to do. But how do we query this information and represent then the assessment highlights of this process? The last element down here is something that we call risks and controls and KPIs in order to identify how the process has performance measurement elements. This is an inside view that is automatically available for every process, and we can of course see how we get a very quick overview what is available. I will jump back to our flow chart just to give you some further insights. This is the view, the graphical view that we support, the insights view, but we can also see everything in the table representation or in a text representation. So everything that you see in the graphical form has a model, a mathematical founded formal model behind, and we can change the view on the model as we like and have then different representations in here. What is, I think, interesting for you is what I can do with such a model. And just to give you a quick view on that one, if I have a process like that one and I'm interested, for example, to see who is responsible for things, we have seen it in the inside, but I would like to get that one directly as a view based on the information that is available. I can generate ad hoc views on the model itself, and we get, for example, here a responsibility matrix. So we understand right away who is responsible for specific activities. This is a live view, so we don't need to do anything manually, but we need to only prepare the model in advance. I can do the same thing. Oops, this is of course wrong. We want to do it for the whole model. I can do another one just to show you different possibilities that we have. The control risk activity matrix. So when we think about the risk of teleworking, for example, and we can recognize that there are specific risks attached to activities and how these controls are actually supporting those. And these are all model-based functionalities that we can realize, that we can build on top of the formal representation. From a structural point of view, insights, queries, reports, etc. But in addition, I can also do things with the model that are a bit more advanced. For example, let me go back to our inside view that we jumped there directly. At the bottom, you have always an overview what you can run here. And what I would like to show you as a final thing with the model interfaces, we can of course also have dynamic assessments of this model. So I can run, for example, here a simulation on the business process. And what do I get as an output is I get now a quantitative assessment of the business process as a return. There's an integrated simulation engine, and we can understand based on any kind of quantitative facets that are available, what are the execution times for this process, for example. So we see here the cycle time is 57 minutes, the personal costs are 18, so I get an overview how this process is defined. If I would like to understand what are the possibilities to get through this process, we have here different end events that are defined, and we can recognize that this path number 15, happens with a 0.46 likelihood. And if I would like to see this path, I should also be able to see this one visually. Let me see how I can do that now. It should be somewhere here on the right. Let me find something else. Right, here we go. And we can highlight now the path also in the sub-process, and we get then the information how this process is related and defined. And just to give you a flavor of the models that we do, the models themselves are all stored centrally, so that means we support here collaboration. You also have the possibility to chat with the model, to talk with the model. We have such a Facebook analogy here as well, that we have the artifact itself as an actor, and we can interact with this with the model. But everything is accessible to anyone. And in that sense, when I just conclude with my quick run through, what we can see is that we have the basic set of elements within the meta model. And I think the interesting question is, how do we apply these meta model concepts within the specific domain of teleworking, and what elements are required in order to do so? Good. Maybe a little bit of our interest as well, why I think such research projects are very interesting and important for us, is that we try to understand how we need to evolve the product and also the method and also the functionality in order to support in various scenarios. And this is something I think that we can contribute to, and that we can support within the project, that we support it through modeling workshops, that we support it through functional assessments, etc. Good. I would stop here now. I would also stop screen sharing, and I would wait for your questions. Here we go.
So before the questions coming, I would now turn to our reality. Anyway, thank you very much for this impressive capabilities of this Adonis. Really, for the past 30 years, we are in partnership with Robert, but really he, and together with you, you made a very good job. My congratulations. Therefore, we would be glad if we can work together in the research part of this our Telework project.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I would like to share screen, and I will ask my colleagues, but also Wilfried, you. What is your opinion about the landscape? Because this I consider is coming. Can you see it?
Sure.
So I only explain, and so according to our topology, so we have so-called management level. This is the governance process. I don't know the terminology, but you will have. So here will be three processes. First of all, if a company wants to introduce a telework, must have impact analysis, whether it is good, not needed, if there is a demand, what is the cost, and so on. For this, you have model, no problem. I can expect. Then we have a implementation after decision taken, implementation for systematic, safe, and efficient telework, or now we call it digital workplace implementation. And this is also a process of the implementing. And we would like to also develop within this project a guideline, how to introduce telework in an organization. What are the steps? And then we have process audit, but this in process where hidden are sub-processes. So impact analysis, the maturity model should be a sub-process of impact analysis, that what is the readiness of the corporation or the environment or social climate. So this is here the model of maturity, and audit is a separate because we have outstanding experts for audit. So this is a separate process, and we also want to develop it in this research part of the Horizon project. So this is the governance. And then there are operational processes, minimal operational processes, which are either driven by the legislation. So, for example, you have to have smart attendance, workplace control, who is what, bring your device, what device is using connection, and so on and so on. You can read them, yes. So I put only 6 processes, but in some legislations, jurisdictions can be more. For example, right to disconnect, how to disconnect. We have to have some process description or models, what are the possibilities of disconnect. And of course, everywhere we want to have then IT application. Now, if I click on teleworker onboarding, this is the first process because if somebody wants to telework, then there is a process, and a click, we manage to have this. So this is, I don't know if you like it or so, and then here we describe everything, how assign telework activities. So what he can do home or remotely, let's say, and what he cannot do remotely, and so on and so on. Now I will stop. We can develop, if it is this form is okay, we can develop the other processes also, at least some outline level before we enter the project, but at least to have some idea if we using the platform correctly. So I stop here and comment. First of all, Wilfried, your comments is good or something you should make it something different, the landscape.
No. This is fine. I think the question that we need to that you need to answer is what is the purpose of the landscape? And I think it's fine as it looks like, but the question remains that in case of such a project, why do we design things on a company map level? And I think the answer can be to create transparency, to have a documentation of everything that needs to be supported. But what are the aspects that we would like to have in mind? And what I thought what could be interesting is to extend this view not only to have the processes, but to also extend it in a sense of actors and who is responsible for doing those kinds of
Of course, yes. Look, if I go back again here, should be somewhere, should be who is the actor, I don't know. Yeah, not here. HR manager, I think Essence Scope, I don't know. So we understood. Here role is HR manager. So here we don't have still around the artifacts like KPIs because we are, we just started last week with this.
No problem. The other thing is when you look at the flowchart, there's one question. Is there a reason that you model it like a snake?
What?
It continues further on to the bottom.
Top down.
Okay. There's one question is that relates to how can there be two start events? We need to clarify this one. According to the standard, to BPMN, there should be only one start event per pool level.
Yes.
The other question is, when I think about flowcharts, I have in mind what is the transformative aspect. So in a sense that we have the request in the beginning and what does the end event symbolize? So what does the end event produce in a sense of a transaction?
That the lady on the guy can telework, and it is done because he must have an amendment to the work contract. For example, here in Slovakia, there is a strict regulation. If you want to telework, you have minimum three company must ensure. First of all, the company decision or some statutes for telework rules. Second, online attendance. We call it somewhere I took it. This is called smart attendance. And third, the task. What he will do? Manage the task. Workplace security. So how it is a workplace secure if he has 40-inch monitor and so on and so on. But this model, another question. This is a generic, I thought, because in each country, these processes, sub-processes, should have different versions, country versions. So this getting complicated.
No, this is fine. I think we have the possibility in the platform to define process variants. So when you look into the notebook of each of the process blue boxes, you have the chance to say you have a base version. This is the version that is country independent. And then you have a definition of what is the Slovakian way, what is the Austrian way, what is the German way, etc.
Okay. So my core members, your opinion. Our group members, please, your opinion about this structure. Do you like it or maybe we will see it after, but for the first time only, your opinion. We go to our next subject, so you can see now the program because before you didn't see the program. So here we have a core topic is number 1, then and this the presentation by Wilfried, and now the telework maturity model. I find that what we have done so far, and you tell your opinion what's better. We start with the audit. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we move to the audit and what we have made, but this is in the enterprise version. Sorry for this. Wilfried, can we extend the closing, the time, leave for 4 hours, don't close or something like that?
No, because you work in teleworking and you want to have a secure environment.
Okay, so Telework compliance risk management or Telework audit. Anyway, we have it, in our the working documents, Telework maturity. We are now in Facebook WordPress, our discussion. This is a maturity model. And here we have, I think in the files we have. So this was the original developed by Laszlo. File. Am I right? This is also for SME, but
yeah,
I don't know.
The second document.
This one below? Okay.
The second one, the word
not
one.
This one. Not this one. Yes. Sorry. Here. This one.
Yes.
So please explain the philosophy. I will enlarge it, I hope. It is possible to enlarge.
Okay. I think everybody can read the content themselves. So basically, when we talk about audit, we talk about, I will start my camera. Okay, so when we talk about audit, we talk about the third line of defense, the third line of checking compliance, which means that first we have the controls in the process, then we have a management supervision or management controls, and then the third level is audit, and it's a continuous activity on one hand, but it is comprised of different audit investigations or audit projects. Of course, audit has two meanings. One is the statutory audit or financial audit, which concerns the overall of a company, but only the financial reports. In some respect, this is also audit, because audit in general is establishing whether a sort of operation or activity conforms to certain preset requirements. And that's the point, that we have to have certain preset requirements. In the case of a statutory audit, it's fairly simple and really general, because they are the financial reporting standards.
Yes.
So this is in one sense a part of the audit activity. All the other audit activities you can divide in two parts. One is compliance audit, and the other one is now getting more and more importance, performance audit. If you think about compliance audit, you have to have certain criteria, certain rules, which you have to comply with, while in performance, we look at performance criteria. I'm mentioning that because performance criteria or performance measures we have in our meta model. And another important concept is to look at the risks. We do audit what we consider risky, and mainly in the areas which management thinks they are complying with. If management knows they are not complying, it doesn't make sense to tell them what they already know. So why do I say this? Because normally when we make an audit program, we have to have certain information about the organization and its values, its criteria, its risks. Now, what I have done here is to set up certain areas, very generalized, which I think in a telework setting we would audit. Because Attila told me, and it may be true, I also have such experiences, that people, when they hire an auditor, they say, I want to see how it works, do audit it for me. And they don't set certain preliminary criteria or values, and sometimes they first start with an audit before setting up their system, or at least before regulating it properly. So this audit topic list is a shoot in the blue some way, and I tried to look at it in a generalized way, and being a teleworker and having been in organizations where there was telework, the audit should anyway, if possible, comprise of two steps. One is a preliminary review, where at the end we arrive to a more detailed audit program. And this preliminary review could also use the maturity model. What's the difference? In the preliminary review, we look at the environment. You've seen what the objectives are, why they introduced teleworking, what is the environment, what do we have to comply with, and in a more general way, company policies, and if we do also efficiency audit or performance audit, then we also look at the measures of effectiveness and efficiency. And then we will arrive to an audit program. And then, of course, part of this maturity model or maturity evaluation, which we put together in this preliminary phase, is based on statements from our client. So they say, we have this, we have that, we do it like this, we do it like that. And at the first point, I wouldn't say we believe it, but we evaluate where they are in terms of what they think they do. And then the audit is actually confronting this scenario they painted for us with reality. So then in the audit program, we will have to see how and where we collect evidence, where we check the facts, how we evaluate them, and then how we do the report. So that's the way this audit would stand up. And of course, then I already put in some questions which we could audit. And the different weight of these questions will inevitably depend on what we hear from the client. But this program is able, in my opinion, to go to a client who has no set expectations or no set criteria, and we can still do a checking how teleworking works, what it brings to them, and to give them proposals how to go further.
Okay, now you have still 5 minutes, Laszlo.
Yes.
So please, let's go. I try to structure your valuable texts, but maybe Wilfried will tell this is not the best way. So telework audit, level aggregate lane aggregate goals. That means what we expect from telework, efficient and safe, and belongs to some unit. This is only I tried. There are some risks. This is a risk group. There are some controls needed, and then
you have in your meta model control objectives, I think.
Correct.
Yes,
correct.
yes. But control when we click, we can describe. You know, we can describe. But I
Okay.
didn't want until you don't tell you or Wilfried that we are on a good track. Because
what I would propose, Attila, Laszlo, what I would propose is that I think what you described in your document is a value chain, right? A value chain of the compliance and risk management process with related artifacts. So I think it could be a good opportunity to also describe this one not as a flow chart, but to describe it as process phases and how these process phases actually are producing artifacts or consuming artifacts. And I think this is the main purpose. And
I think the value chain is more what I now told you.
Mm-hmm.
The preliminary review criteria.
Correct. Mm-hmm. But I think this could be interesting to see who is also the responsible person to do this one. So who runs a preliminary review, who performs what at what point in time.
Okay, but I think what we have time now is to look at this model, and yes, I would put the compliance requirements or regulations or control objectives at the same level as efficiency and effectiveness.
Okay, but now let's go through. So please don't forget, we do it together. But the second lane is the governance. That means how to make the audit. So set audit management targets. I don't know. So this is a process, what you are speaking about. Who will do what? To understand what should be the audit process for Telework. So can you read? So set audit targets. What are the targets? Set compliance. These are tasks. Yes. And here, even I tried the role auditor, but okay. Carry out the controls.
Yes.
And then for each, and then I finish. Then we come with the lane. You know, for example, this is onboarding a new teleworker. You remember from the process landscape. And for each of process we set assign risk criteria. For example, here onboarding KPIs, but more breach of GDPR. No, if they make online amendment of work contract, maybe personal data will be lost or misused. And here are the roles and another process. We have 6 operational processes. So feel free. How to do it? This is what your opinion.
You need to have a structure on top. You need to describe the 6 phases and then break it down.
I think the audit value chain, core of the audit value chain would be these 3 elements in the governance.
But this how we define it. Please translate it to Adonis terminology.
This would be the value chain.
Wilfried must.
Okay.
I would create a company map
because I have 1 minute left. So, and then of course we will have on the bottom the complete telework value chain, and we can audit any phases of this telework value chain.
We have only processes, not phases. Or can we have phases?
Well, they would be the elements in the or the artifacts of the value chain.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm more in Aris than in Adonis yet, but
okay.
The logic is the same. The process phase, the process object is a phase, so you can describe it as a phase. You can use I would propose to you to create a company map, a model of type company map, and then actually put in the blue process objects and show how the information flows and how these elements are there. And what you have currently on swim lanes, I think these elements become then breakdowns. And on top, we can describe how these different phases are supported by the elements that we have surrounding here.
Yes,
so,
actually in most of the company models I've seen, audit is a governance layer.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the overall operational model, and there you just have audit in the governance layer. Mm-hmm. And if you go into the audit, there you will have the actual process model of audit.
Correct.
Okay, so that's good.
But
Thank you very much.
we have it also on the governance level here.
Yeah, properly.
Okay, Laszlo, thank you very much.
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Sorry, I have to leave, but I have to get my second vaccination. And you can understand this is important. Eh?
Good luck.
Okay,
Good
thank
luck.
you.
Good
Bye-bye.
luck. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Best regards to Luxembourg. Okay, so this we have. I don't know. What do you think? We have to make a separate session, maybe, no? One-to-one.
Yeah, but Attila, I think what we do here now is what is the outcome of the project. Do I misunderstand that?
The outcome of the project, I explain you.
No, I don't want to understand the outcome, but what I understood is that we do now process modeling, which is a very resource-intense job. And I'm not sure if it makes sense to go to that level of detail for the proposal phase, or if it makes sense that we say we have during the project execution, then we have actually the development of this process landscape.
Of course, with Wilfried, but my method is, first of all, I develop and then I submit the proposal. Then I know exactly what to do. But of course, not 100%. We have here 9 processes, this is not a problem to make at least. But Yunis is left. Yunis, are you here still?
No. Unfortunately, he left.
Yes, he had half an hour. So this will be the research part of the project, because what I wanted to Wilfried, the nice thing should be, here is the workflow, and now generate the application for each scenario. This is the ADO IT, or how you call it.
No, if you want you want a workflow from here. This is a business process, and you can export this model as a BPM and DI representation and put it into a workflow engine and implement an application as a workflow, for example.
You see, this is my dream. Yes.
This is what you can do already now. You can export it as in a serialized format, and it can be digested by a workflow.
I never could. I don't want to lose it.
You say import export at the bottom, BPM and DI export.
And now we have to export it to my computer.
Locally, if you press export now, then it will export that one into a serializable format. That is a standardized format, and you can use this.
Import it. For example, I can import all these models to the enterprise version. Yes, because now I have a CE version. I am here.
No. This is clarified, Attila. Don't worry about this one. What I'm telling you now is we are on a conceptual level. We are designing business processes on a conceptual level within the domain of teleworking. What we have done now here is we have exported the model so that we can make an application out of that. We can use that information now to give it to a machine and interpret it.
Very good. We have to discuss it. Okay, so let's come back to we have last point of the program. Peter Sveda, are you here? Yes.
No. Unfortunately, he also left at 3:00.
Everybody.
We have to keep the time more.
Never mind. Anyway, this is the question for Wilfried.
Yeah.
We have some questions anyway.
Wait. But the question should be here, please. Telework maturity model. How to represent it? We have in PowerPoint we have six how to say it, topics, and each topic there are conditions, whether are met or not. No, and the condition can be 1, 2, 3, depending on the level of condition.
Right.
So how to first of all, my interesting formal interpreter how to represent it here in Adonis, the maturity model, or maybe you have such model for some other.
Yeah, this is what I try to say now. We have the concept of control objective. Laszlo has mentioned that before. And what we are representing, you're representing it here now as a data structure. So I think this is not a data structure, but it is a control objective, and a control objective has then measurement points, and these are then the elements that we see below that one. So we have the concept of control objective pools, and the relation between such elements in the system.
In table, yes. So now this is not good. Therefore I stop.
It's okay. It has a different purpose, I believe. It is. It represents the data structure. So it is like a simplified ER version of it. But I don't think that you want to do that one.
But we want to have something that somebody downloads it and fill in the questions in this. So I think fill in 1, 2, 3 to each point. This is the idea of Peter Sveda.
What I will do is I will copy paste you a link to our GRC module. This actually does that from a product's point of view. Can I chat here in this thing here?
Yes, you can put it in the chat window and then we will.
This provides quite some intense information on how this kind of idea is structured. It has all the elements of quantification and questionnaires and everything like that.
Very good. So now, thank you. No questions, please. Now we can go to questions. Other questions.
Still, I'm wondering what was the main purpose of this model, and plus, what is it basically talking about to start from the A? And most importantly, can we get access to this model, and is it a standard model which companies are using it, and can we use it right now in Slovakia? And these sort of questions I have.
These questions are probably to Mr. Utz. Am I right?
No, to Mr. Utz. No. Mr. Utz is an expert for the platform, not about why we want to use it. Am I right?
The main purpose, excuse me.
Yes, I try to repeat again. We have to reformulate the telework, because 20 years ago we couldn't speak about artificial intelligence, online and so on, and new technologies, social networking, how to cover. So now we would like to submit a project proposal to the Horizon project. But independently when we submit or not submit, to develop simple application, make for example, online attendance. It is simple application. This is peanuts. Plenty of things, plenty of companies provide this. But there is missing online attendance is not teleworking. So telework is a set of processes ensuring efficiency, comfortability, and security of the whole process. I would say working remotely. So this is a new business process of the company when we are in the new normal. New normal will be that half of the time people will spend outside the company. So this process must be identified, must be clearly defined what are the possible implementation, meeting all safety, work site security, government regulations. So this all together is a knowledge. So how we define the knowledge? We must define it. We can write in Word on this PDF, but here is the best process modeling system. Not only modeling, I said knowledge sharing system. Wilfried, am I right? I don't say best, but you must believe that you got the award of Gartner, no, for 2018.
Also this year.
This year also.
Every year.
So congratulations. So we have a best tool. We have a Mercedes, but we have to learn to drive it, correctly, and to reach our objective. Our objective is to have telework knowledge, how to say it, network, where people will not invent again how to implement a telework, but they have some template, knowledge template, and they will customize this template to the specific of company regulation and also country regulations, you know. But company country regulation, what we analyzed, I think 10%, 20% maximum. The remaining 80% is the same. The same. They must communicate. They must have access to legacy central system. This must be clear what is their private work on the same equipment and what is company work and so on and so on. And of course, we have to measure the cost of teleworking as a process. Nobody made it so far. But now, if we spend half of our life at home remotely, so we have to think whether it is impact or not. So, my friend, you are from where, Zubar? You are from where?
I'm from Afghanistan, sir.
From?
Afghanistan.
Ah, welcome. So far away. So you found us Telework, or how did you connect? Because we send invitations only to our network. But anyway,
of course, I have received this link from my boss, from my employer, VPS Slovakia. So this company has sent me this link, so I joined through that link.
VPS Slovakia, yes?
Yes, and it is Mr. Andrejchak for explanation, yes.
Okay, so this, and you are working in Afghanistan for Slovakian company?
Of course.
Okay, very good. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, so let's go back to the program. Any other business? Or if there are some other questions. So here you can see the program. Mr. Webmaster is readable.
Yes.
So what is left? Tibor Normandy, you were very quiet today.
Oh, yeah, because I was just listening this Adonis. It's completely new product, BPM from Wilfried.
But those new for you, they are developing in 30 years.
I know generally the BPM or workflow products, applications, but not this one. And in the meantime, I was thinking how to downscale the general teleworking for SMEs.
Yes.
For companies below, let's say, 200 employees. And where they don't want to go into the too complex solutions, of course, they would like to. I had, I think, 2 or 3 slides here,
Yes.
I think you can see it.
Yes, to show
and
it to
specifically, I was thinking about the healthcare, from supporting healthcare from SME point of view. And here, generally, just what is the SMEs and the different sectors where SME can work as a service companies. Okay.
And how this came here?
This one I just was thinking how to scale down or customize Wilfried solutions. What can be outsourced to send it to different companies to do it, like the HR, because the smaller companies cannot have so many functions internally.
Yes.
And I was thinking how to customize this BPM, this business process, what Adonis has. But so
let us ask Wilfried, what SMEs, Wilfried? Do you use this modeling, SMEs?
No, I need to clarify something for Tibor, I think. We have BPMN. I just put into the chat. This is a standard version of for process modeling. Maybe I can also add the link to that one. This is done by OMG. So this is an international standard that is established in order to support various companies, industries, industry neutral. The my link doesn't copy. Anyways, I just put that up. That's a standard notation, right? And then you have tool vendors who implement that one, and we are one of those. So we are a POC is one of the vendors who has taken the BPMN standard and has implemented this one in a way that also represents our, let's say, strategy and our idea of models as value. And I think this is the main differentiation point. This is why we get good assessments from Gartner. Not only this because of this one, but I think this is the reason that we don't only use it for technical implementation, but we use it to understand how an organization operates. And if you look at our website, you find hundreds of companies that use it. So I cannot give you a concrete number, what it is now, but there's quite some organizations using it.
But just Attila, as I said, there is overall similarities for companies for teleworking. And maybe a big part can be used for the same principle for different SMEs.
Correct.
Yeah?
Correct.
Like one sector is the healthcare or telecommunications or finance. Accounting is very, very popular. Small companies, maybe with 10, 20 accountants, providing finance or accounting service for hundreds of small companies. Yeah, LTDs,
correct.
And they could use the similar BPM Adonis solution. So I think it is a great tool. We just have to customize it and come up with a different customized solution for different service segments or sectors.
Yep.
Yeah, but first, I think we have to learn it ourselves.
Okay.
So I think I'm not sure, Attila, how much time did you spend with the Adonis tool, with the application?
At Novitec, we are using Adonis several groups here, you know.
Oh, right. You know it very
how
well.
much time? This is a good hobby. It's better than write unstructured text in Word, you know.
Okay. Exactly. Yeah.
But then I only last question, Wilfried. Can you?
Yeah.
So we can make, because you have standard reports, because finally the paper is paper, yes? So if some guidelines, for example, for this HR, have to onboard a new teleworker, that means to give, so this must be written. Do you have some reports? But I think these reports can be customized, but they are putting one page, 2 lines, another one page, so you can, there is also a custom report writer option or report structuring.
No, the reports are predefined, but there are 40 of them. So I think you find something that is appropriate.
Okay. So I think we will continue, but for the today, I think we reached our objective that somehow we are, how to say it, regulated by Wilfried, what is the best practice, and we will follow, and we will continue in one-to-one discussion with you maybe, or I don't know who will be the specialist.
For research projects, it is Robert. So I think you have been in touch with him before. And for everything that is related to Adonis and product offering, which is the commercial side of things, this is the colleague that I think sent you a message before.
The lady?
Yeah, the lady, correct.
Okay, so we will...
You can always contact me as well, don't worry, this is...
Okay, but if this is needed, sometimes we show you some things, say good, bad, or like today, it was a very good guidance. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we look forward to, I hope BOC will be the member of consortium, of course, for research.
This is something I cannot decide, but Robert will. So this
of course, I know. Okay. So, sorry, but not important. If there are other questions, Anyway, thank you very much for the lecturer, for the participants, for active discussion for today, and we meet again next Wednesday. So
Thank you very much. Thank
we
you.
can close the recording, and if somebody wants to discuss whether in Slovak, Hungarian, we have several nations, so we can discuss it. So thank you, Wilfried, for your time again.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
so much.
Thank
you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.